Hello everybody, Father Ed here with another installment of Quarantine Crafts, where we're providing you and your family with ideas for keeping Holy Week and Easter at home. You know, one of the memories that I have from my childhood, and I'm sure many of you do as well, is coloring Easter eggs. It was always a lot of fun to do that with my mom and siblings, and I can also remember hunting for those Easter eggs on Easter Sunday with all of my cousins at my grandparents' house. The colorful eggs are a reminder of the rainbow that God placed in the sky after the great flood, making his covenant with humanity. But for our Greek Orthodox Christian brothers and sisters, there's really only one color for Easter eggs, and that's red. And so today, we're going to learn how to make Greek Orthodox Easter eggs. You might wonder, why red? Well, in part, it goes to a legend about Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene, you might remember, is the apostle to the apostles. She's the one who brought the good news of Jesus' resurrection to Peter and the others. And you can see her here in this icon holding an egg in her hand. According to a legend, Mary Magdalene was at the home of a Roman official, and she was preaching to him about Jesus. And when she began to speak of Jesus' resurrection from the dead, the Roman official scoffed, and he said, "A man can no more rise from the dead than these eggs can turn red." Well, wouldn't you know, Mary Magdalene picked up one of the eggs, and immediately it turned red in her hand. A pious legend, but a fun story for Easter. Also, the red, of course, symbolizes the blood of Christ's passion, and it opens to the white and gold of Easter. So how do we make our red Greek Orthodox Easter eggs? Well, you'll need some onions. You'll be using the skins from the onions to make your dye for the eggs. I was able to get some nice big yellow onions, and if you can find these, you'll need about 6 of them to make your dye. If your onions are smaller, you might need maybe a dozen. I know that's a lot of onions. What do you do with them? After they're peeled, they'll keep in the refrigerator in a sealed container for about a week. You might think about making some homemade onion rings for your family. I'm sure the kids would enjoy that. Father Brandon and I are going to make a big pot of French onion soup. Just imagine that with some croutons and some melty cheese on top. Sounds good, doesn't it? So you're going to take your onions and you're going to remove the skins and place them in a large pot. Obviously, I'm not going to do all of that here today. It would take a little bit of time. But after you peel your onions, removing all the brown skin, place it in the pot. And then you're ready to add your water, about 4.5 cups of water. And then 2 tablespoons of vinegar. One, 2. You're going to bring that mixture to a boil and then reduce the heat, cover, and simmer your onion skins for about 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, you can turn off the heat, and using a strainer, you're going to strain the liquid. And when you finish straining it, the miracle of television, you have something like this. It'll be an orange to a kind of tea color. Don't let that throw you off. If it's not real dark, you can let those onion skins simmer for a little longer, but that's about the color it should be. So then you get your eggs ready. And for all of this, you want to use a stainless steel pot. Don't use ceramic or any kind of wood because the dye will stain it. You want to use non-porous materials. So you're going to place your eggs in your pot. You want to keep them in a single layer. And with the dye that you've gotten, that should color about 12 eggs. And then you simply pour your dye in with your eggs. Make sure that your eggs are completely covered in the dye. If you have to add a little water, that's okay. Just try not to dilute your dye too much. But make sure the eggs in a single layer are covered with the dye. You're going to, again, bring that pot to a boil and then reduce the heat and let your eggs simmer for about 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you want to check your eggs. Use a slotted spoon to pull them up out of the dye and see what the color looks like. If it doesn't seem dark enough or red enough, you can let those eggs cook for about another 5 minutes, but you really don't want to cook beyond 20 minutes or they're not going to be very tasty when you're done. So after 20 minutes, remove the eggs from the heat. If they still aren't the right color, just let them sit in the dye for a little while. Once they have reached a nice color, remove them with a slotted spoon, place them on a rack to cool. And your eggs will come out looking something like this. And to get that nice sheen on them and to help bring out the red tones, you can use a little olive oil. Just take a touch of olive oil on a cloth and gently wipe your eggs. Again, that gives them a nice sheen and helps, I think, to bring out the red tones of the color. So there you have your Greek Orthodox Easter eggs. Now there's one more thing about them. Our Greek Orthodox Christian brothers and sisters like to play a little game with the eggs. Two people tap their eggs together. One person says, Christos anesti, Christ is risen. And the other responds, alithos anesti, indeed, he is truly risen. You tap the eggs together and see who can crack the other person's egg without cracking their own. So I'm going to demonstrate that and invite Father Brandon to come up here.
All right. I'm out from behind the camera. All right, what's my line again, Father?
Your line is, indeed, he is risen.
Okay.
I say, Christ is risen. You say, indeed, he is risen, or indeed, he is truly risen.
Okay.
All right, Christ is risen.
Indeed, he is truly risen. Mine cracked.
His cracked, I win.
Oh,
so,
man. Years of experience.
There you go. There you go. So, Greek Orthodox eggs for Easter. As Martha Stewart would say, it's a good thing.